Hey guys, and welcome to April's news video. This is going to be a little bit of a different format, more visually than audibly. I'm still going to be ranting based off of some bullet points and then just kind of have some stuff I'm looking at. And I figured why not just have me actually react kind of more in a live manner, so you can see exactly what it is I'm looking at and kind of referencing and whatnot, stuff like that. Real quick announcement, just a little bit. I'm actually going to be changing my office up a little bit, so there's going to be a whole bunch of board games behind me here. Right now they're over to my right. And that's not going to be the case anymore. They're going to be kind of behind me. There's going to be a lot of them, so be prepared for that. Probably some miniatures on display too. Anyway, so starting things out with stuff that's coming up. And really, that is starting out with Final Girl. This is actually a solo game by Van Ryder Games, which I had not heard of. It's going to be on Kickstarter on April 20th. And I wanted to give a shout out, mainly because I know a few of my patrons are really big solo gamers, and I really like the idea of it. The idea of the final girl, or the cliche of these horror films, is a genius solo board game experience. I feel like it could probably be a 1v1 as well, or even a 1v all and have, the people dying and that, and then one person at the very end or something like that. But in this one, it does have miniatures. The miniatures renders look fine. I don't know how the eventual quality can be, but essentially you're just like the final girl, right? And you're going against this big bad guy and you have to like kind of survive and everything. I'll have a link down to their Twitter below. That's where I'm looking at. They have a lot of images, like these like classic looking VHS movie style game boxes, which I appreciate. And there's a video showing a little bit about the game. You can see some of the game components as well. So that'll be here on April 20th. So it's like soon. Next up is Jim Henson's Labyrinth and the Dark Crystal miniatures. This one's going to be big. As you can see, it's April 24th, and this has like 1/10 scale busts, 1/24 scale full figure resin miniatures. Some of these look really, really good. I'll put on the screen here real quick one from the Facebook that they're also showing. I don't have it pulled up now, but they look great. The art style from Jim Henson's movies, especially at this time, were really impressive. They should be really great painting experiences. I don't know how limited quantities are, if there are going to be, or if they'll make as many as they need. When it comes to resin, it's hard to do huge bulk orders, so we'll see how this is. And of course, it'll probably be priced kind of high, but definitely something. If you have not painted a 75mm miniature, you owe it to yourself to do it at least once. Pick something that really, really inspires you. Go ahead in with the money. Trust me. Just that one experience, even if you don't do it all the time, because I get it's expensive, is so worth it. It's like the perfect size for miniature painting. So if you can get on some of these, and I know they say 1/10 and 1/24, there's some different scales here. It's all around that size, right? They're big, and it allows you it's just a joy. And all the resin is crisp details. Trust me, it's way different than painting a little 28mm guy. It's a huge difference. Alright, next up is Resident Evil 3 by Steam-Forged Games. This will be on Kickstarter. I'm looking at my notes here. April 28th. It's probably on... Is it on this image? No, it just shows coming soon. It's April 28th is when they're going to do this. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Steam-Forged Games. I think to me, it looks like they release very lackluster products based off of popular IP, and they just kind of utilize that IP to get sales versus actually high quality and well-regarded games. I think they released one of their own IP games. I can't remember the name of it, and if I'm not mistaken, that was reviewed pretty well. So, but these kind of Resident Evils and Horizon Zero Dawns and Dark Souls and all this kind of stuff is, I don't know, it just seems like a cash grab to me. And the miniature quality doesn't look like super great. For instance, looking at Jill Valentine here, she has this little tiny like zipper with a little tiny detail. That's not going to be there. Get out of here. You can put that on your render all you want, but don't believe it. Don't believe the hype, right? So, just go in there with good expectations. But if you're a huge fan of the video game, or if you like the remake, I'm sure they're going to have some remake stuff in there. Definitely noteworthy. 7,722 followers. And this is, again, from a company that doesn't make a whole lot of critically acclaimed board games. Or even, like, well-regarded top-tier miniatures or anything like that. But, again, it's a huge IP. I get that. And so that'll be coming up April 28th again. All right. Next up, one I don't even know about. Let me actually... I was looking at a comment here. So, and I guess I'll talk about that. I don't care. Euthia, Torment of Resurrection. I don't know how you pronounce this. Look, it's an epic competitive board game inspired by an RPG video game classic for 1 to 4 players. First off, I'd never seen this down here. Do you see this? What is the project? How will the funds bring it to life? Who's the creator? I've never seen this on Kickstarter. I think that's really cool. I think that's neat. The art style looks kind of interesting. The miniatures look okay. I'm a huge RPG fan though. It might look even a little busy. I can't quite tell. It looks to me like an AA game. So there's AAA, then there's like indie, and then there's AA. And this looks AA to me. This looks like it's a pretty, I mean, look, $89. It's a little bit cheaper than a lot of the other options out there. And these miniatures are big, by the way, which gives me a little bit more confidence in them. So I'm going to scroll past some of the art, which I actually like the art. The tiles remind me of Joan of Arc a little bit, maybe a little bit too strongly. Just keep scrolling here. It'll show the miniatures. I think they're, 60 millimeter. So they're probably not gonna be a whole lot, but at that big, it is a little bit harder to mess them up. So I have a little bit more faith in the detail. Now looking at the renders, again, you see like these really tiny, like little rope details on this chick. I don't buy it. There's some very faint battle damage on the shoulder pad, maybe. We'll see. But either way, they look decent enough. The gameplay seems kind of interesting. I haven't read it all. One thing I did notice way down here is right here. Easter Game Manufacturing doing the production. That has me worried. I've never received anything that Easter's made that I've been 100% happy with. They always ruin about 10% of it somehow, some way. They've produced the worst game board I've ever seen. They've produced the worst miniatures I've ever had on my desk. I'm sure I've seen worse. I just don't buy those games. But my point is that they just mess it up. Even Awakened Realms tries their hardest to get Easter to do what they should be doing, and they still managed to botch it. So I don't know. I'm going to talk to them about that, and I can't promise I'll change it, but hopefully I can help improve that a little bit. Anyway, that is May 5th. So this is a little out there, May 5th. We're moving on to May now. Speaking of May 13th is Sheol. Now, right here, finally came the prototype. So I will be unboxing this, letting you guys know all about it, of course. Oh, that was squeaky. So I'll be playing it, I'll be unboxing, I'll be reviewing it, and letting you guys know how I feel about it. It does look like it plays a lot different. So just because it looks cool and has a cool IP and has this amazing, like, center miniature thing, city that you get to build up, and that's super cool and nerdy, it doesn't mean the game's good. So we gotta see if the game's good. That's what I gotta check now. Either way, May 13th, it's not that far off, so stay tuned. I'll be getting to that. Next up, something very weird. Buffy the Vampire Slayer foil jigsaw puzzles. I'm not advertising that. I mean, I actually like puzzles, but I once even, like, as a teenager, I like glued one. You know, like you put it together and you glue it together. It was terrible. Anyway, and they have the board games too. I don't know how available the board games are or how well that received they were, but they are available in here. So if you scroll past the puzzles, which, I mean, puzzles are cool. I don't know how expensive they are. $95 for puzzles seems a lot. So I don't know. Oh no, that's with the board games. So yeah, so they got the board game and the expansion, I think, or whatever. So if you're looking for that, that's going to be here right now. It looks like they could use the help. They haven't funded yet, so we'll see how this ends up being. And I wonder if maybe they focused a little too much on the new puzzles and not on the old board game. Not sure. But that's out now. Wolfenstein, it's out too. It's doing 431,000. That's actually quite good. Archon's biggest was around 500 and some change with Chronicle X. So they're definitely pulling in the money here. Which is good. I think it's great. It's definitely their best game yet. I have a review link in the description below to the game. I actually really enjoyed it. I've played it twice since reviewing it. I was asked to play it a third time, but we ran out of time that day, so we didn't end up playing it. But twice we've actually sat down and played it after reviewing it, and I played it a bunch before then. I've almost played all of the scenarios now at this point. And it's actually a lot of fun. A lot of loot, a lot of dice chucking, a lot of killing, pretty much everything you want in a Wolfenstein game. So anyway, yeah, that's on Kickstarter for another 11 days at the time of recording. It might switch to 10 by the time I post this. Ankh is also on here. CMON is doing quite well at 1.2 million. It got pretty much that the day it launched. So this is just a little bit afterwards. 17 more days to go. They're unlocking stretch goals. If you were wondering, because CMON does different kind of stretch goals. They're doing the ones that they did for Rising Sun, where they're increasing a lot of the components. So let me scroll down here to the components. It's miniatures, but all these component upgrades are what they're really going for. If you call it the Mancala tiles and stuff like that you got in Rising Sun, that's what they're doing with Ankh. I love component upgrades. I think that's a great, the art style in here is much different, but it's there. Yeah, I find the miniatures kind of, like, this guy's boring. Like, he's just standing there. The monkey's just standing there. You know, so some of it's kind of to me. These guys are literally just standing there. It's kind of weird. Like this person here with their shield and their spear, this person here with their shield and sword, that's the exact same pose, just different detail on them, but it's their feet change and that's about it as far as I can tell. So, you know, the minis are whatever. But the component upgrades are a huge draw for sure. Price seems reasonable and it seems to be doing pretty well. Speaking of doing pretty well, Frosthaven is reaching 8 million at this point with still 14 more days to go and 53,000 backers. This is what happens when you have a very good game that's reviewed quite well and loved by a lot of people, and then you come back on Kickstarter and throw it there to the wolves to throw money in your direction. They're not really offering anything special. It's just essentially a pre-order. If you're fundamentally against that, you'll probably suck it up and back it anyway if you like the game. If you're really fundamentally against that, then I guess you won't, and you'll pick it up retail. I'm sure they'll do great at retail. But yeah, it's Frosthaven. It's the retail version of Frosthaven with some shipping attached. I actually don't know exactly the appeal of the Kickstarter per se. Like, I don't know what exactly. I know you can get other stuff with it. Like, you can spend more to get organizers, which is, I love organizers, so that's great. You can get some of the expansions of Gloomhaven. I don't know if those are ever Kickstarter exclusive or not. I don't know. Anyway, it's cool. It's doing well. And it goes to show that if you have a well-respected creator and a very fun game, you tend to do well. Imagine that. More companies should try doing more of that and less FOMO. Because if you can make 8 million without any FOMO, where there's nothing special about it, then it just goes to show that make good stuff and you make money. Moving on from that, Legendary Dragons 3D printable files for miniatures. I don't normally post stuff like this. I've been trying to go more in the 3D realm, not because I plan on doing 3D printing, but I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people buy a whole bunch of board games for D&D stuff, and this is a good alternative. I know we're on all lockdown and quarantine here, and that you can print stuff at home and get new stuff. I know that there's a very specific Patreon of mine and fellow YouTuber Banda Inku who loves dragons. I think when I posted this to him, he was already a backer or something like that. I don't know. I don't even think he can I don't know. Anyway, there's some cool freaking dragons. I mean, look at those wings, right? I mean, these are actually pretty darn sweet. So, yeah, this is a thing. And I thought it looked cool. Look at that. That's like Shenron from Dragon Ball Z. Oh, I'm gonna have to show my kids that. They'll get a kick out of that one. Anyway, these are just super, super cool. Nemesis Lockdown. If you weren't aware, Awakened Realms decided, hey, we made a whole bunch of money on Nemesis and a lot of people liked it. We should do it again. So that's what they're going to do. This is a standalone expansion. Now, there is a disclaimer here, is that it takes place on like Mars instead and has a few other mechanics. And I really like the fact that they're adding mechanics to this. It's not just more of Nemesis. It is a little bit different. It might have a different little taste and feel to it, but they're still going to try and make it to where you can use all of your old, aliens, Xeno, I think is specifically what they call them. So you can have the Carnomorphs in there or the Void Seeders and stuff like that. So that'll be kind of cool. Last I heard, this is only for this expansion. You cannot get the main game Minor Sinning. I think they said is that it's locked up in like a retail contract. Which first of all means I guess it's going retail. Second of all means you can't get the original here, which is a bummer. If they did a second printing, they'd make us steal. But I'll link down below to this. You can kind of read some of the new stuff on here, and they'll add to this preview page a little bit over time. Next up, we have a Super Fantasy Brawl update. This one is kind of weird. So they're showing new stuff. This is a new guy that we did not get on Kickstarter. It's a new hero. He'll come with his cards and the miniatures, just one person. This is a retail expansion. And I guess what's a little weird about this is that, the factory's working like 80% capacity. We don't have the game yet, and they're already telling us about retail stuff, which is, I don't know. I like that they're showing, hey, we're supporting our games, and this is going to be a continued thing, and you can go and get this. That's cool. It's a fine line, and it's a hard one to judge, like, because at the same time you're talking to a whole bunch of people that don't even have the main game yet about this future stuff at retail that you're already talking about. So it could be in bad taste. I'm a little conflicted about it. Same thing when you mention like expansion stuff in rule books. It just seems a little fundamentally wrong to me to talk about stuff too soon. At the same time, I think it's cool that they're going to continue supporting their product, and I'm actually happy they're going to. I'm looking forward to Super Fantasy Brawl. I will be getting that, and you bet I'll be unboxing and reviewing that. We're big on skirmish here. My group loves competitive skirmish games, so we're excited about it. We love card play too, so it should be a hit, and good miniatures. We love that too. So I'm excited about it. This was just a little odd to me, maybe a little noteworthy that they're already looking at retail to the point where they have it all planned out and rendered, and I'm assuming developed. I don't know when this is even coming. I don't think it even says when it's coming to retail. Whatever. Anyway, that's a thing. Speaking of supporting their games past, Monolith has now released their scenario editor for Batman. And as you can see, somebody has already done a Death in the Family, the whole story through 6 different missions. That's awesome. I freaking love that. That is so cool. They did this with Conan as well. If you have Conan or if you have Batman, you have so many scenarios based off of this. So this one's batmanscenarios.com. I'll link to that. There's a Conan one as well. I forget if it's conanscenarios.com. I can't remember. I have it bookmarked. Maybe I'll link that as well. Either way, you can make ones, you can vote on them, you can comment on them, you can follow, I believe you can follow the people who make it, by Mac 1993 or whatever. Is that their year born? Am I getting old? 1993 seems like a kid, but maybe I'm just old. Anyway, my point being is that is some awesome support after the fact of the game. And it's super, super cool that they're doing that. Not that I take the time to do it just because I'd want to balance it and do all that stuff. And I'm sure that takes a lot of time, but super cool. And you can bet that if I ever play through all of the content they've already given on Batman, I might take a look at some of these, do the top 10 voted ones or something like that. Or maybe just go through a Death in the Family. That'd be cool. All right. Going back to Wolfenstein, this is noteworthy just because it's a little weird. So they have a shipping compensation. So shipping is expensive for Wolfenstein, probably for a variety of reasons. Well, one of which is that there's 86 miniatures in the core box without stretch goals. So it's going to be a little heavy, especially with the cardboard components and everything else. And it just, that's big boxes are heavy and shipping that is expensive. And they're not making it all in China. A lot of it's made in Europe. And so, instead of going from some Chinese factory, that's from some factory workers in, it's made by Archon actually. And I'm sure they pay their people a little bit better, probably. Maybe give them some benefits or something. Anyway, my point being is it's expensive shipping. And so what they did to sweeten the deal is as long as you back at a normal $120 pledge tier, you get this free miniature, this guard robot at 67 millimeters tall, for free. And that's kind of as a, hey, here you go. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So they're not giving a discount on the shipping or anything like that, but they will throw in an extra mini. Now, granted, that's a lot cheaper for them to do, to just print off another copy. Sure, I get that. That's way cheaper because it's on a sprue. Costs there's no space involved. So it's really easy to do. So that's kind of cool, I guess. This is kind of weird. This is something that somebody reached out to me on Facebook about, and I told them I'd tell you guys about it, and I will, because I plan on using a little bit too. Board Game Late Pledge, or bglatepledge.com. I will say, I noticed today, I'm going to refresh here, it comes up with this huge advertisement. I'm cool with them getting advertisement, that's fine. It's not intuitive, but there's a little tiny X here, or it looks like a modal, really, and so you can also just click off of it. At first I clicked the thing and it took me to it and I didn't want to. Down here you'll see a list. I don't know, it defaults to 10. I wish we could have like preferences or something like that. Anyway, a list of a whole bunch of stuff that you can lay pledge. Now, you can actually contact them. Like, for instance, they had Oath Sworn on here and it had closed, so I let them know. So I said, hey, what are you looking for? And you can add a late pledge. You can do you can promote a late pledge. You can give them the company. You can do all that kind of stuff. Anyway, this stuff is super cool, which is a whole big list. It's a nice tool. If enough of us use this could actually be pretty good. I always comment on how hard it is to track all this crap. Like, trust me, it takes me a while to note all this stuff and talk about it all, so it's really nice to have it here. Now, I want to end on CMON, and I actually meant to mention this earlier, but as you know, there was an article about their annual report was delayed. There was an audit. I guess, okay, so I'll kind of explain my understanding of it, okay? Now, I am not an expert. I'm not a legal guy. I rarely know what I'm talking about, except for things that I put a lot of effort into knowing. I've read all the articles about this, and then CMON's response, and I did some quick Googling, and that's it. So I don't want to act like I'm an expert. However, this is my understanding of it, and I just want to kind of help explain this. So, there is a going concern, which is actually a good thing to have on a report. It sounds like a negative thing, but it's actually a good thing. It essentially, when an auditor, all right, so when an accountant is looking at all the financials, if they think that the company can continue to run as a business and not go, under when it comes to money and, you owe too much out and stuff like that for another 12 months. Typically, it's a little kind of arbitrary and loose. They are a going concern. In other words, they are good to go and the company will keep going. If you don't have that mark, again, my understanding, and maybe I'm flipping it around, I don't know, but either way, then the auditor is saying, I'm not so sure that you'll keep going. Typically what this means is essentially you have too many liabilities out, or you have too many, like if you have a whole bunch of loans out, a whole bunch of debt, and you don't have enough money to pay off that debt, then let's say all the collectors came to you and said, give us our money back. You don't have enough. You'd go under, right? You have to file for bankruptcy or whatever businesses can do. They probably, I'm sure, have more options than us, normal people, but the point is that once you kind of go into the red that much where you have so much outstanding that it's more than your worth, essentially, they tend to not put that mark on there. Now, the CMON can respond essentially and show them evidence and talk to them and convince them to put the mark back on, essentially. In the meantime, the trading has been halted mainly because that's not a final say, so they've suspended all trading, because otherwise it'd be a death sentence. The moment they announced it, just the announcement, the stocks would plummet and everybody pull out, and it would kind of be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I get that. So they kind of pause all trading, and they'll figure it out, and then they'll resume trading once it's all figured out. Now, CMON responded to this because you see this, trading suspended in CMON, and they talk about going concern here a little bit, and they don't necessarily talk a whole bunch about it. There was another article that was written a lot worse, and a little bit more clickbaity. I don't know what I was saying there. Saying that, they could go under or something like that. CMON's response is essentially as such. They have like 37 Kickstarters they've already delivered. All the other Kickstarters they have not delivered yet. When they mark it on their books, they mark it both as money in because they got money, but also as a liability until it's delivered. In other words, they almost act like it's a loan. They're saying, hey, we got this money, but it's beyond the condition that we deliver a product, this Kickstarter. And until we do that, we owe the backers that product. So it has to be invested in there. It's kind of tied up in that, right? Now that's a little kind of odd to me, just because I'm not it's not a bank loan or anything like that, or an investor loan or something where it might get interest, or I can knock on CMON and say, hey, give me back my money I lent you. None of that actually happened. If they could choose not to deliver any of their outstanding Kickstarters, and I don't believe they'd have any repercussions legally speaking. So it's a little odd to market that way, but apparently that's what they do. As I've been saying many, many times now, CMON is getting kind of behind. They're releasing more Kickstarters than they're delivering, incurring a lot of development and production debt, right? And it's gotten to the point now where they have so much of that, and COVID's not helping and all that kind of stuff. They have so many outstanding that is worth more than the company could essentially pay off when it comes to the books. So I believe that's what's essentially happening. That's kind of what they're talking about here. You can see it here, a highly technical term. Okay. Anyway, the point is that they've marked on their books Kickstarters that have not delivered are a negative, and they have so many of those negatives now because they haven't been delivering their Kickstarters in as timely a fashion as they used to, and they've been releasing them super fast, that outweighs whatever pool they're looking at, so that it doesn't match, right? They come up short. So CMON's fine. I wouldn't even be mentioning Ankh in any kind of, I would be warning, like, do not back. If I was concerned about it, I'm not. Trust me, the only reason we even know about this is because they're a publicly traded company, right? There are a lot worse off board game companies, I guarantee it. And the fact that CMON isn't even reliant on Kickstarter should tell you something. They do like 60 or 60+% of their revenue comes from retail. So Kickstarter is not the biggest piece of the pie. It might be the most highest profit, perhaps, just because retailers don't buy it at the same price we do, right? If they sell it $10 more, they're not making $10 on the game. They bought it less. Anyway, my point being that CMON's fine. They're okay. If you like Ankh, back it. Don't fret about it. I wouldn't worry about it too much. This should be a wake-up call, I believe, to CMON to start delivering their products. Maybe don't release so many Kickstarters before you deliver them. At least maybe do a 1-to-1. Like, hey, we delivered something and we opened something. Otherwise, you're just continually running behind. But whatever. Anyway, that's what I wanted to leave with. I wanted to make sure you guys knew at least my take on this and my understanding of this. If you have any insight, feel free to share it below. Either way, thanks so much for watching. As always, I hugely appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I have the best community ever. I was feeling down earlier today. You guys might know what I'm talking about, and you guys cheered me up a huge amount and really encouraged me to continue to try and provide as much benefit to you, the viewer, as I can, with as much knowledge as I can put forth on here. There's quite a few tabs here. Hopefully you learned something. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Huge shout out to my patrons. Obviously without them, I wouldn't have the microphone or the video here that I'm sharing this with, or a whole host of other things that you guys don't even necessarily see behind the scenes. So thanks so much to them. And with that, I will talk to you guys again really soon. Maybe about the Sheol stuff.